Hello and welcome back to the ongoing series of films about the AJP PR7. I've actually done some miles on it this time and I made a film. You may have seen it. If you haven't, go check it out and then come back. It was a lot of fun. Trans-Euro Trail in the north of England. We were meant to go to Spain, but coronavirus stopped us from going. The last film I made, I was literally about to leave, so we've done it. I'm back, I've made the film. We ended up doing a few hundred miles in the north of England. It was a lot of fun. So in the last film, I'd prepped the bike, done the graphics and all the rest of it, and I didn't really need to do a huge amount to the bike to get ready for this trip. The things that I was concerned about were the chain, because I know someone who's had a chain failure on not an PR7 but on an SWM, which has got the same motor, and then also the fuel injector. I've got a friend who has got a PR7 and his fuel injector got blocked. So the good news is neither of those things happened, so we're okay. The bike performed brilliantly. Not a single mechanical. It didn't, well, I say it didn't miss a beat. It did miss a little beat, and I will talk about that in a minute. But the bike was brilliant. The key things that I learned about adventure riding on this bike, in terms of getting luggage on. So I used the Kriega OS base and the OS 12s. I've made a film about that for Adventure Spec. You can go find it if you like. So the good news is that this film doesn't really have to be that long because there wasn't any great drama. The bike performed really well. It was more comfortable than the 450 EXC, much more comfortable. In fact, my friend Clive had a bit of a mechanical on his CB500X, and so we swapped it and he got on my 450. And I jumped on that for a little bit and I immediately was like, whoa, did I really do 2,500 miles on this bike? Because jumping from the PR7 to the 450 is like, yeah, I don't know, it's like getting off a really comfortable office chair and getting onto a wooden seesaw. You know, the PR7's not as comfortable as a sofa, not like you would want it to be either, but made me realise the 450 is just so kind of super aggressive. While we're talking about the 450, immediately my friend Clive, and I don't think he'll mind me saying this, is he was just tearing off on that 450 compared to when he was riding his CB500X. And it made me again realise that that 450 and those enduro bikes, they're designed to be ridden fast. They want to be ridden fast because you get the most enjoyment when they're riding fast, and so you ride fast. I found that my pace on the PR7 was a lot more leisurely. I wasn't kind of like just getting, you know, twisting it into every single corner and throwing it around. It was a more leisurely experience, and I like that. Maybe I'm getting old, I don't know, but for this kind of Trans-Euro Trail trip, where you've got quite a lot of distance to cover and you just want to do it in a relaxed pace, it was fantastic. Okay, so I've had quite a lot of messages about like upgrading the Doma exhaust, and I don't know if I will or won't, but it's quiet. The bike with the stock exhaust is quiet. And I am going to say it's almost too quiet, in that it's brilliant that it's quiet for trail riding because it reduces your impact. You're not making as much noise in the countryside, and I think that's a great thing. From a like stir your soul point of view, I think it, you know, I was jealous of my friend Noel's XR, which sounds amazing. This bike does sound quite flat compared to that, and in fact when you're riding it with the stock exhaust, most of the noise that you can hear is the engine noise and the air intake. You don't actually hear the exhaust that much. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. It's whether or not you do it for the good of the sport and the countryside, or you do it to just make yourself happy. But you know, I definitely don't need any more speed. I didn't really feel any issues with speed at all. And in terms of the throttle control, the slow speed control, I didn't have any issues. I'll tell you what, I did learn, I can't ride it like my 450. On my 450, I'm virtually never in first gear. You know, if you were going up something technical in first gear, your front end would be like burp, 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 coming up all the time, yeah. And when I first got this bike, I was riding it a lot in getting out of first gear into second gear very quickly, and consequently quite on the clutch, you know, on off, on off, on off, on off. When I started to realise on this trip that I could quite happily chug along slowly on technical stuff in first gear, it was a revelation. It became a completely different bike to ride. So that slow speed control, first gear, of course you do have to cover the clutch. It's not like it's an automatic, but you know, getting into first gear and having that control in such a low gear was a revelation. I haven't changed the gearing at all. It's just whatever it came out of the factory. I don't even know what that is. But yeah, first gear, fine. So before I left on this trip, Joao at Thork sent me one of the Bluetooth controllers, and I did talk about that a little bit in the last film. So this was the first chance I had to use that properly. I was leading the trip, so I was at the front, so it was on me to navigate. So I had the Samsung tag, I had in fact, I didn't use Locus Map Pro, I just entirely used drive mode on there, and it worked fantastic. The fact that I could be riding along and zoom out just with my thumb, just zoom out, see where the next turning was, and then zoom, in, and it's very automatic, so it always knows where you are. You can push the joystick once and it'll flip the map to kind of orientate, or you push it again and it'll flip to go like north up. So it's very intuitive. It has more features than that as well in terms of shortcuts, but it was a great bit of kit. The battery life on that Bluetooth controller, to be honest, I think the controller could be half the size because the battery on there seems to just last forever. I don't think I've even recharged it. But that was fantastic, and it integrated with the Samsung tablet brilliantly in those apps. Here's the issue, okay? The one issue, the main issue that I came up with on this bike, on this trip, is when that bike comes out of the factory in Portugal, I don't think they have any idea that anyone would ride it in anything other than bright sunshine because it rained on this trip. It absolutely hammered it down, and the bike was perfect, no drama there, no water getting anywhere, no stalling, but the tablet was a disaster. Okay, so you're riding in the rain with that tablet, the one that it comes with, and the water splashing on it, it starts thinking you're touching it, so it's having its own little kind of party mode. And then it rained all night. I didn't cover it. It rained all night. I got up the next day and water had got behind the screen of the tablet. So essentially that tablet is just a write-off. It's knackered. So it's not IP rated or anything like that. So my options there, I mean, yeah, it's gone. My options are to get something like the Active Tab and get a case for it and create something that fits with that the AJP mount, or upgrade to the Carpe tablet, which is a really rugged Android tablet, or go back to a traditional Garmin device. So for me personally, the tablet and the technology side of it has never been a key feature for me for this bike. It's good. I like that it's a separate item to the bike, and so you can upgrade it very easily and change it. I think for me, the next thing is going to be getting the new Garmin Montana 700 and going back to a traditional method and using my iPhone. I think maybe if that the only thing that would stop me from doing that literally is that Bluetooth controller. It's so good that I'm on the borderline of going down another route of an Android tablet or phone device simply because of the functionality of that controller. If that controller worked with an iPhone, I would be all over it because I'm Apple. If it worked with a Garmin device, I would be double all over it, but that's not going to happen, I don't think. But yeah, the controller's brilliant. I guess we'll see what happens with the tablet. But for me, it's bike first and tablets a bit here or there, whatever. So maybe the last thing to say is I changed the tyres from TKC 80s to Motor's RAL Zs, and that's largely because of my involvement with Adventure Spec and that we sell Motors. This time of year, honestly, everything was so hard packed. It wouldn't have made a huge amount of difference. The Rousey's were great. The TKC80s were fine as well, but the Rousey's worked great. Compared to the Motor's Tractionator Adventure, the Rousey's have worn a lot more than the Tractionator Adventure did on my CB500X. So I'm definitely not going to get the same lifespan out of those bikes, out of those tyres. But I had no problems with grip. I think one of the most telling things is that I didn't fall off my bike on this trip. I was pushed off by Adam, but I didn't really fall off. And on my 450, I pretty much fall off every time I'm on that bike. Maybe because I'm riding it differently, maybe I'm trying harder stuff or whatever, but the AJP was a really, really enjoyable ride. I'm enjoying it. As long as the reliability stays there and there's no drama there, it's as close to the unicorn bike that I've found so far. I haven't ridden a 690, that's what everyone's going to say, oh, get on the 690. My friend Will on this trip had the 790. I was really impressed with that. For a big bike, there was stuff that he struggled on more than other people, but he always managed to get up it. And he's a good rider, but you could really, I think you could see that his skill paired with the rider aids of that 790 made that a very, very capable bike. But it is relying on those aids, I think. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. As ever, big plug to Shoot and Ride, my side project. It's a monthly newsletter that rounds up all of my kind of inspiration to do with like riding bikes and watching and making videos. I've also got a load of stickers that celebrate that as well, so please do have a look at the shop. Thank you for your time. I don't know when the next film's going to be. I'm not going to keep pumping out AJP PR7 films just for the sake of it. When I have something more to say about this bike, I will put a film out. I might be able to squeeze another trip in later this year. In fact, I have got one planned, but I don't know if it's going to happen because of coronavirus. But yeah, thank you for your support. Thank you for your energy on this bike. I've really enjoyed getting to know it. Keep your kind of questions coming in. I will keep doing my best to answer it. If it's not a full-on video, it might be stuck comments on Instagram and all the rest of it. But yeah, thank you. See you soon.